but if we're going to get the encounters anyway, we might as well just hit level 4 because we are potentially saving around it for that.
5. If you get lucky, sometimes that missed jet will be down and you can just cut right through instead of having to go around the loop. Unfortunately, it doesn't happen very often. So since these are at level 4, we kind of want to run away, or unless, well, we get more XP here with Vivi and Steiner.
Yeah, there are some early benefits actually to getting some extra levels on Vivi and Steiner. Obviously, if you could just have no encounters, that's ideal, but if we're getting them anyway, having extra damage on these two characters is really nice. It is interesting to note that you may be wondering, how do we get through the game without fighting encounters? Levels don't really do that much in this game. Early on, it's
I forgot to save, so we're getting an extra little cutscene.
And with the Moogle as well.
I meant to save outside this.
And we're saving this guy, so it's fine.
So he's like, uses fire and melts him out. Oh. This is the second character that he is now set ablaze.
So yeah, at level 4, you actually get an extra, you get higher damage rolls. So it makes it much more likely that we can 5-hit the next boss.
I know.
What new information do they have for us this time, Mutsky? So yeah, since Zidane leveled up, it doesn't replenish your HP, so he's just giving us a quick heal. So we go into the next fight with full HP, and a quick save just in case any shenanigans happen on the next fight.
It should be completely It should be completely fine, especially at level 4. But...
We have $50 from Jacobo the Chocobo. Great run so far, Mutt. Here's hoping you dominate Ice Cavern this time. Also, you're right about Ico.
See, some people get it. So here at this part of the cavern, you'll see everyone's kind of freezing. There's like this, the mist is being blown, and everyone's going to start to fall asleep. See, Vivi's kind of drowsy. He just tumbles down this small cliff, small ledge.
I also love how Steiner is clearly going to fall on top of Vivi, but just conveniently moves to the right as he's falling down.
Zidane kicks him.
Yeah, so for one reason or another, Zidane is significantly less affected by whatever's going on than his 3 other party members, so with that in mind, we're going to be going to the next boss fight with only Zidane, so this is going to be a 2v1 at the start.
So depending how much XP you have, you can fight this boss at like level 2, level 3.
Господи, хорошо-то как? 5-й раз уже, Юрий Андреевич. Да хоть 10-й. Я взятки полгода не видел. Да, ты кто такая?
Вашему полярному выпала огромная честь. Он выбран местом для самого крупного мусорного полигона в Европе.
Есть одна проблема.
Ты фермера подвинуть не можешь.
Level 4 is obviously the safest because he has more HP and he does more damage. At level 4 he can do 196, 92, or 88 damage, compared to level 2 or 3 he only does 84, 88, 92, or 96.
So this is the Black Waltz 1 fight with his sidekick Sea Lion. This fight is pretty much just dependent on knowing exactly how much damage you could possibly take each round, and then healing if you will die, obviously, or you have a potential to die, is probably the more accurate way to say it. The first thing we need to do is take out the mage. I believe you attack Sea Lion first, he just gets healed.
Yeah,
back.
he casts Blizzard on Sea Lion and heals him.
Yeah.
So this is one of the first kind of major differences between the Japanese and the English version. So in the Japanese version, Black Waltz 1 actually does more damage with Blizzard, and Sea Lion does more damage with his big attack, Tsunami. So, yeah, the Japanese version of this fight is really scary at less than level 4.
Yeah, this game, basically the main difference between the two versions is that, for whatever reason, although they're primarily identical, there's a few places where for some reason one version will do 1.5 damage on certain elemental abilities and the other will do 1.5 damage on other abilities. So the Tsunami attack, which we're going to see near the end of this fight, is one of the ones that does 1.5 damage in the Japanese version, but not in this version.
Look at that, perfect 150.
So the mechanic of this fight essentially is that with our damage rolls, every other attack that we do is going to trigger a counter attack. So you'll see on this attack, the jewel on Sea Lion is going to change. Did you know that that happens?
Wait, what?
It's yellow.
What are you talking about?
Yeah, so it changes to yellow, and that means that he's going to be using his next ability. What that means is that that's actually a counterattack. So you see he's going to get 2 moves. And that's not because he's faster than us or anything, it's just that once he gets below certain HP thresholds, he just uses it automatically, but he still gets his regular turn. So those 2 instances of counters in this fight are the points where you really need to make sure you know how much HP he has.
But no, seriously, I never saw that before. Thank you for pointing it out to me.
I had a feeling maybe you just counted damage or something.
I may actually get my trance on the last turn of this fight, or second to last.
So yeah, that's actually a strat that you, if you get like no encounters up to this point or something like that, and he's only level 2.
I'm actually just gonna wait one more.
Steal.
No.
Yeah. So if you do this fight at level 2, you pretty much have to go for trance.
So this is a really good point to talk about how trance works. Much like everything else in FF9, it's random. It really has nothing to do with how much damage you take or anything at all. It's just a random value that's, I'm actually not sure of the calculation, but whenever you take a hit, it just decides between, sometimes as low as 0, I think, to any number value, and that's how much it'll fill out.
It's the random number between 0 and your spirit value.
Tidal Flame is actually not a fire elemental attack, so it doesn't actually do more because it's an ice enemy. It just looks cooler.
Yeah, so Muskie elected to wait for trance there because had he attacked again, that would have triggered his second counter, which is the Tsunami attack that we mentioned. So he figured he was going to get tranced anyway. You might as well just wait and skip the additional attack.
I didn't see. Did he steal at all?
No.
So yeah, so you can actually steal a Mithril Dagger on that fight, which is actually fairly useful in the next 2 bosses if you can get it. That's why some runners opt to go directly for trance on that fight and hope to get the Mithril Dagger to save time on the next couple bosses. But unfortunately, since filling the trance is so random, you can just be sitting there forever waiting for the trance to fill up.
Yeah, it is very conceivable that you just get hit many, many times in a row and the bar will not change at all. So what's going on here, Zidane gets back from his fight with the first Black Waltz encounter, and he chooses not to divulge that information to his teammates. So we're just going to do a quick heal and make our way out of the ice cavern.
6. So 6 is pretty bad so far, but you know, it's a marathon, so what can you do?
So much like all the other enemies in the previous areas as well, we can one-shot everything with Vivi, or we can flee with Zidane. But generally, those are the 2 things we choose between, just depending on, you know, their ATBs or what our levels are at.
Fortunately, we got some really good ATB on Vivi throughout these encounters. So
Yeah, I've used them on every single one so far.
you got an exorbitant amount of XP right now. Alright, only 1 on the way out.
Alright, we're gonna need the name for Princess Garnet in about a minute. Maybe less.
Meditation.
Or Dagger. It might be under Dagger.
I have Garnet's name as Clage. K-L-A-I-G-E.
K-L-A-I-G, easy.
Yeah, so what's going on here is they're just sort of talking about what they're going to do next, and Zidane suggests that the princess should take up an alias going forward so people don't recognize her as the princess. When Steiner pushes Zidane, he drops his dagger, and she gets this brilliant idea of, oh, I should go by dagger.
But in this case, she's gonna be like, what's this called? Oh, it's a dagger. It's like, okay, call me Clage.
So I hate to break in, but actually, that just got sniped by my man at the
Oh.
last second. The clutch donation from my man. So that's
Wow.
M-Y space
Can we
M-A-N.
put spaces?
I think so.
Yeah, okay.
My man.
My man.
Spelling is so hard.
I also like that you've chosen to put everything in full capital letters.
I
like
thought
being
about,
shouted
about
at.
switching it, but then I was like,
No, it's too late.
I'm a monster once, I'm a monster
you're
the whole run.
Unfortunately, we can't pick like the accent. There's one name incentive, I think, that had some accent marks, but unfortunately, we can't put this in. I think FF10 has those.
If you're gonna
accents.
explain this while I do it,
You're not gonna run it?
no.
Okay, so unlike our trip to the ice cavern, there is not going to be a title screen displayed here, so this really jaggy movement that you're seeing Mutski do is with a technique called stutter stepping. The encounters on the world map work differently than they do in other areas, and essentially how this is working is because he's taking such short steps, his encounter threat level is never increasing. So if you do it properly, you will never get an encounter doing that. If you do, then that means you've done it wrong. So because every time you enter a world map screen, your threat level is at 0, you have no possible chance of getting an encounter. So by doing this weird movement, taking these short steps means that it will never increase from 0, and therefore you can never get an encounter on the world map.
Unfortunately, it's pretty difficult to do it both consistently and quickly. You have to be pretty good at mashing, like someone over here.
Yeah, if you ever watch a speed run of this and you see the runner get an encounter, it's most likely because they were trying to go faster than you're able to. If you see any like long steps taken while you're trying to do that, that means that you are most likely increasing your encounter chance.
So we get to this quiet village, and we stop at this inn, and the innkeeper is kind of like bewildered at Vivi for some reason, we don't really know why, and Zidane thinks that he's staring at the princess. And this town seems very quiet and quaint, but we kind of slowly pick up as we progress around that there's like some sketchy business going on here involving a mage type, very similar to Vivi is.
Сейчас каждый, наверное, знает, но наверное, ну ладно. Это, наверное, просто как бы типа ностальгии, что-то. Нет? Нет, не так, все так говорят. Ну да. Я тоже так считаю, честно говоря.
Yeah, you probably have a time for a few donations here.
Okay, great. We have $25 from Conde Petit. Since Mutski was an alpha gamer and impressed 100 nobles, here's the extra 25 I promised. I'll be counting those encounters since there's another 25 in it if there are fewer than 60 in total. We have a $10 anonymous donation. I've been waiting for this run since I first checked the schedule, and I've been hooked on watching FF9 speedruns since I saw you guys run it at RPG Limit Break. And even though I'm incredibly sick, I'll be watching this all night. I will also donate an additional $10 if we get guard skip. Donation goes to Mutski's choice.
Ooh,
Pressure.
we'll see about that.
We've got $5 from Vinny Baz. Greetings from Sweden. 6 a.m. here, and my son woke me up so we wouldn't miss my favorite game. Good luck with the run, Mutski, and thanks for bringing back the memories. We've got $250 from Motane, donating during my favorite game of all time. Gotta get that marriage incentive met. And speaking of incentives, we do have the marriage and the blindfolded menuing incentive still going strong. We're getting closer to those goals, but if you want to see those, you should get your donations in soon.
So what's going on here? Story-wise, you're sort of intended to explore this town, but
That's slow.
Yeah, it's slow. We don't really care, so the fastest way to do it is to just visit the garden off to the top right of the village and then enter that building twice. And that sort of sets up the trigger that lets you talk to Vivi and have Garnet be in the item shop, which is going to be our first item shop of the run.
The bar is the quickest one to transition in and out of. That's right next to Vivi, but you do have to visit the garden one time and then 2 other points. So we just do the bar twice because it's right here. And now we got our second kidnapping of the game. Vivi's now stolen.
He's amazed by chocobos because he's never seen them, and then he gets kidnapped.
This is gonna be good.
Feels bad.
My man.
So Dagger, unsurprisingly, has pretty much been sheltered her entire life, and she's just sort of amazed by literally everything in this small village. Here we're just picking the second option twice because it's the fastest way, because we don't really care about what she has to say, so we just want to get rid of her as quickly as possible so we can buy the stuff we need to continue. So this,
I think first option is actually slightly fat, but it's like hardly anything.
this shop's actually pretty important because we're going to be making use of the well-known cotton robe exploit in this run. Because we had 100 nobles, we're actually able to make more, but in essence, what this allows us to do is, those kids are a nightmare. But yeah, the cotton robes, in essence, what it is it's an item that costs less to make than it does to resell it. So it's a really nice way to get early gold because obviously it's free money. Getting 100 nobles is useful because we can buy more materials to make more of them early on, and it just sort of further cements our already good guild situation.
So we find out Steiner's looking for the adults because, peculiarly, aside from the hotel owner, everybody here has been a child running this village. And so Steiner ends up getting roped into, like, cleaning dishes and doing other homey things for this young lass. Who is, you know, 12 and serving people at a bar, so sure.
Things are different in the country.
And you're not allowed to use credit here, if you notice. Why it's in English, I don't know.
So Zidane sort of realizes that something is up and that they haven't heard from Vivi in a while, so they're gonna go take a look for him. This is sort of the second instance where the pesky kids can get in our way again as well. They always sort of start in the cycle, but depending where you are, they can actually...
I usually try to trap them, like...
Yeah, yeah.
You going nowhere, boy.
Yeah, it's usually the way when you're running towards a garden the first time, that's when they really control you.
The best is when they're running on either side, when you sort of get, like, pincered by them and just stuck in place.
Yeah, or sometimes they'll just, like, be standing still, and then, like, at the last minute, like, go and jump in front of you.
So now we're standing where we were looking with Vivi earlier, and we hear some child crying, and we find out that Vivi's actually under the ground somehow, so we have to find our way there.
You gotta make sure you don't mash too much there, because you can accidentally go and look back down the hole.
So we're making our way into the underground here, and this is again sort of the first showing of a really important plot point in the game.
I really like the silence here, so they have the really nice calming music, and then they really intentionally cut it entirely out and replace it with nothing, and just this ominous nothingness as we start to put together that this town has some pretty not so good things going on. And Garnet identifies the symbol on this barrel here is actually the symbol of Alexandria, which is the city that she's the princess of. So they have some dealings with one another.
And I think we're getting a save here, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, because the next boss fight can actually be pretty.
It's probably
tricky.
Probably the second most dangerous boss fight of this disc.
Although at everyone at level 4,
yeah, exactly.
Not quite as. And of course, well, I'll talk about it when we get to it. This is going to be another one of those differences between JP and any version.
I like how you said back in the barrel. Oh, see ya. You can actually pick up the leather wrist in that chest on the ground there if you are low on gil, but it's much faster to just buy it in the shop when you buy the wrists and the feather hat, if you have the gil to afford it.
So they hear the crying again, and they realize that Vivi, or Kitty, is trapped in this box. And this is actually one of my favorite scenes early on, because Zidane is basically teaching him bad things to call people when they try to kidnap him, I guess.
Get off me, you scumbag. Yeah. And Garnet's like really confused by the term scumbag because she hasn't been exposed to bad mouthing.
Yeah, so they can see something is really off here because there's something coming out of a conveyor belt, and there's all these barrels around with the Alexandria symbol on, so they realize that something is being made for Alexandria, but they don't know it yet.
I'm gonna do a quick little menu here, just so you equip the leather wrist on Zidane. That's actually gonna give him okay, actually, so the slide skip there. If you walk, normally you will, when he gets there, he'll slide a bit.